first challenge to get this off the mic stand. Oh, that was a lot easier. Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all doing? I need a bit more enthusiasm than that. Come on, how are you all doing? Great, you need to keep hold of that enthusiasm for the rest of this set because I'm going to be serving you up some grade A comedy. So as you heard, my name is Natt, and before we get started I need to clarify one thing. I'm not actually a researcher becoming a comedian. That's not me having another pot shot at my comedic talents. I literally just did that joke if you didn't keep up. I actually am not a researcher. I know, the horror. And if you have any complaints about that, I would advise you to go and find some guys in the matching Bright Club t-shirts, because if you come and complain to me, I won't actually give a fuck. I actually work in public engagement, so technically what I'm doing right now is my job, which, it's pretty cool. Although at the same time, I feel like I'm under a lot more pressure, because if I don't do I have to do my job right, so I have to get you to laugh. And unfortunately for me, stand-up comedy wasn't something I was tested on at my interview. Okay, so all jokes aside, just for a second, like not for the entire set, hopefully. You might have gathered by now, just from looking at me, although I'm not a researcher now, I once upon a time was, because I have that look that just screams science. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're all probably wondering, this is actually my natural hair colour. So I was a researcher in a really exciting field called infection and immunity. Yes, enthusiasm. So for those, it's kind of like a weird field to be in, so I kind of need to put it into some context. So for those of you that watch loads of shit B films on Netflix, you can kind of think of me as the sort of person that created the zombie apocalypse virus, released it on the world and fucked everyone over. For those of you that are pretending to be more culturally highbrow than that, and pretend you don't understand that reference, you can think of me as the sort of person that was out on the front line defeating the latest crisis virus for the NHS. So, unfortunately, kind of misrepresenting myself there, I didn't do anything that exciting. I ended up locked away in a Category 2 biohazard lab for 4 years of my life, studying the common cold. So yes, everybody, I have a PhD in the sniffles. I'm sure you're still really keen, I guess, to find out what exciting results I got by the end of my PhD. And I actually have a Bright Club exclusive. I know. Oh, exactly. The biggest thing I found from my research was that unless you go to the canteen in Southampton General Hospital at 11:59 precisely, you'll never be able to get one of their burritos for lunch. So yes, I ended up being released from my prison in the labs after 4 years, and to get out of the lab I had to do my Viva, which Sadie mentioned. I kind of thought of my Viva more like a parole hearing. For me, yeah, it was awful. They basically were judging whether I behaved well enough in the lab, had done enough work, and whether I was actually safe to rejoin normal population. And apparently I am, which shocked me, as I imagine. So the work I did all ended up boiling down into this 9-month labour of love, which was called my thesis. So last time I was here on this stage, I spoke a lot about my thesis pregnancy, which was a very emotional time for me, and I basically was a massive bitch. And I know you're all thinking, why the hell should I come back for another go? And that is because if life in the lab taught me anything, it's that you have to repeat everything at least 3 times to claim it. So I thought it was only appropriate that this time I brought along my baby to meet everybody. So brace yourself for this. We've got a family resemblance. So yes, I'm a very proud parent, and I spent a lot of time thinking what to name my thesis, because I wanted something that really represented its inner being, whilst also making sure everyone was very aware how pretentious and middle class I am, in case you guys hadn't already gathered from the way I talk. So I ended up settling on naming him, sorry, I need to take a deep breath to say this. The effect of human rhinovirus 16 infection on the epithelial barrier characteristics, innate immune responses, and specific microRNAs in human primary bronchial epithelial cells from healthy and asthmatic donors. I know it's not exactly something that rolls off the tongue, not very catchy. I had tried to think of something else, and the only thing I could really come up with was I studied cells for 4 years and just looked at them and then wrote a shit ton of words about them, which doesn't have the same sort of pizzazz. Also, I kind of really wanted my examiners to pick up my thesis and read that title and go, wow, that girl really knows what she's talking about, when in reality I fucking blagged my way through it, if I'm honest. So yes. So it was these 65,000 words that you see now on the floor, I'm that much of a proud parent, that got me back into the wild and meant that I was a doctor, which I was really excited about until it actually happened, and then it turned out nothing exciting happens when you get excited. Like, I really expected some sort of significant change in my life, and it turns out like the only significant change that happened was that my debit card changed, and I was just like, yeah, that's going to be amazing. Turned out that was anticlimactic, so I went into the bank to get it changed and said, you know, oh, can I change my title? They literally handed me a form in which they had a list of titles and just asked me to tick one and didn't even ask for any proof. And when you find out that you could have pretended to be Baroness Day all this time, doctor just feels like a massive cop-out. So yes, anyway, I am now back out into the wild and in trying to reintegrate into society and not show my crazy too much. I'm doing a great job. And I thought it was going to be really easy to adjust to life after the lab, and it turns out not so much. I have found loads of sticking points that I didn't think were going to be a problem. Like, I'm really struggling with conversation. I used to spend a lot of my time talking at masses of cells, and they never used to object, they didn't say anything, they absolutely loved me. Now I'm talking at masses of cells and they respond back, and I get really confused. And I'm not sure I really like people telling me that some of my life decisions are actually shit. Another big one for me is the fact that I've found out it's not actually socially appropriate to sing and dance whenever you want to. And you know, I'd kind of presumed because of Glee and High School Musical that that was a thing you were allowed to do. And so I used to sit in my lab, and because I was like the only one in there, I could do whatever I wanted to. So it's kind of turned into my own personal karaoke bar. And so I would just pick up the pipette and I just belt out the latest Coldplay banger. And yeah, if you do that in an office, it's not considered proper office etiquette, and people get really disgruntled, and you know, that was a shocker. Another big one for me, which is specifically something I found out because it's supposed to be summer, is that I'm struggling with sunlight. No, I'm not actually a vampire. What it is that my lab had no windows because they were afraid of the common cold getting into the population and killing everybody. So I used to just spend most of my days in the dark. And so by the end of my PhD, I ended up so white that I got offered a position in the Trump administration. Now, obviously, I'm back out in daylight, and I've discovered that no, I am the human equivalent of a Dr. Dot book because I fucking freckle. And if you guys don't believe me, I've kind of brought some pens along, and if you want to catch me during the break, we can have a go on my arms, because I'm not actually joking, I wish I was. But I think probably the biggest one for me is the fact that I have spare time again, and I'm able to dictate what I do with my time. And I really don't know what to do with it. Basically, because you spend so much of your time dedicated to that one niche thing, that everything else flies out the window, and if you want to go out, you have to kind of arrange it around your cells and things. Now that that's not a pressure, everything's just going wrong. I used to dream about what I could get up to when I finished my PhD. I was going to go traveling Europe. I was going to take up a sport. I was going to finish writing my novel. Reality is, I tend to now spend 7 hours binge watching Jeremy Kyle on the sofa in my pajamas eating ice cream. And okay, that was fine for a little bit, but now I've started to think about how to exploit all my personal traumas to become a guest on the show, and that's when it's probably gone a little bit too far. And so yeah, it really just boils down to this fact that I just don't know how to live properly, and I've started to consider myself a little bit like a sim. So if anyone's ever played the game The Sims, in that game you can control them and then you can set them to free will. And I think for a while my cells were the ones that were controlling me, and now I've been set to free will, which means I'm getting up to some really shitty, stupid outcomes, like volunteering to do stand-up comedy on a Friday night. Anyway, that's me. Thank you very much, everybody.